and to the fact that something's broken. And I think from a design perspective, and I've done that for most of my life, you clean the slate, and I don't mean revolution, I mean you clean the slate in terms of options that are available, and maybe the fact that they don't have these specific political demands is good, because it's forcing us to think about the problem, clean the slate and say, okay, what do we need to do? So maybe it is going to tug at people's heartstrings more directly than particular partisan divides and demands.
Yeah. So in the last few minutes that we have together, I'd love to just hear from each of you about kind of your specific business life and what you feel has kind of been the connection to your faith as a member of the Baha'i community, and how you're trying to live out some of these spiritual principles. Let's start with you, Kambiz.
Well, again, business is always business, and a personal life, especially faith, in the way that I embrace my faith is a personal manner. And but what is I always want to do is do what is right. Okay. Unfortunately, what is going on, you know, in a lot of large corporations, you know, especially, is that, for example, in case of Enron, I'm sure none of the executives, if they're walking on the street, if they see somebody drop $10, they're gonna go grab it and just not give it back, or they don't go pickpocket people for $1 or $2.
Right.
But unfortunately, when we step into the corporation as a executives or some person that we have some control, we don't think. You know, we just put the corporate hat and we forget about what is right at the personal level. Okay. A lot of us, we don't go and try to scam people $1 at a time. Okay. But when you are in charge of a company, you don't even think twice to raise the rate by $1. Okay. And I think that difference is it's just caused a lot of problems. Okay. And for my business, you know, no matter what I do, I try my best to be aware of that at all given time, and just be a good person.
Yeah.
And what is right for my company, for the people who work for my company, my associate, my customers, and the community at large. Also, I believe that, you know, at some point, corporations, they have to basically give back to the communities in a way that is they can afford. Okay, and you know, some companies, they do that. They have an alternative motive, you know, because of the publicity. I think that basically hinder the whole process. So it should be, they should give away for love of the community, for love of God, for love of the higher being, for love of whatever you want to call that. You know, I mentioned, you know, love of God, but you know, that I don't want be a kind of divider between the different the thought system. It's something that what's good for the human beings, and I try at least to do that. You know, it's very hard to just pinpoint, you know, what we do. And also, very quickly, the Baha'i principle, they have a very kind of nice administrative as far as handling the discussions and meetings. And I always try to do that, and to that way make it fair, and a lot of people like that, the way that it's been done.
Consultation is the spiritual principle. Yeah, we've talked about that here on the show before. Jonathan, I'm wondering about with your specifically Kanari, your neighborhood food system. How is that in serving the community?
Yeah, it's interesting because at the core of the Baha'i teachings is the unity of mankind, the oneness of mankind. Also, very, very core in the Baha'i teachings that we grew up with is the building up of that united world through just the building blocks of family, community, city, and nation, but building starting with the core of family. The Kanari neighborhood food systems and the Kanari neighborhood systems that we're developing is really an experiment in building an economic model that has the pattern of activity at the neighborhood level. And so we're building economic models for vibrant community existing, growing, processing, and retail literally at the neighborhood level. And the reason we're doing that is not just for the sake of food, but is for the sake of reinforcing those building blocks of family, reinforcing the ability for a toddler to cross paths on the sidewalk with an elderly couple, and transfer of wisdom and delight between the generations, and what that does for community, and then what that in turn does for the health of the society and the health of the greater national economy. So really, the Kanari neighborhood systems is an experiment in building up the economy with a different pattern based at the community level, at the neighborhood level.
And so the community is contributing to the work of the farm in order to raise its food?
Not at all. And so you heard me cheer free enterprise. So it really is we're experimenting with people growing things in their backyard, processing them in a shared commercial kitchen at the community level, and enabling with using modern information systems for that trade and commerce of that food to take place through a neighborhood retail store. But each one of those components being an independent, free enterprise, not capitalist, but free enterprise. Call it capitalist if you may, for simplification, so that it translates across that divide there. But essentially, the American way.
Wow. Well, it sounds great. I want to thank both of you for coming and sharing these perspectives on the spiritual state of the world at this particular point. Jonathan Hosseini, Kambiz Khadem, thank you very much for joining us on The Light of Unity. And of course, if you'd like to learn more about the Baha'i faith and the teachings of the Prophet founder, Baha'u'llah, please be sure to phone 1-800-22-UNITE or go online to www.baha'i.us. I'm Nwandi Lawson. Want to leave you as always with one of the principal teachings of the Baha'i faith. So powerful is the light of unity that it can illuminate the whole earth. We'll see you next time for another edition of The Light of Unity.